what we do now is on the second and third floor they made cigars. So I'm not sure when that was. We still have to go to the library to get the history of the building, which they hold a lot of that.
Well, you probably know this was a big cigar area.
Yeah.
Remington
Right.
too, yeah.
I know, a lot of people don't know that.
That's true, because it goes back a ways.
So then there was a cigar store down here. I don't know when it actually became Lane's Cigar Store.
Okay.
It probably transferred over time, but Mike Caruso across the street,
We talked to Mike today.
okay, he has a photo. I don't know if you've seen it,
You
up
see
on
it?
his wall.
That's the cigar store?
That's here.
That's here?
Yeah. So you saw the display here and the guy standing with the cigar. That's this wall right here.
No kidding.
Yeah. Because
Wow.
right after we got this and got to know Mike a little bit, he's like, come on over, I got something to show you. And it's up on his wall. But so then after that, I believe that through my father, it was Kelly's Pool Hall. And they had the pool table set up here. And they would be at school, high school, down here at the old high school. And they would walk up here on their lunch and their breaks and they'd shoot pool and get snacks and
That's pretty cool.
so. And then after that, it became Lane Cigar Store. So obviously, I think the cigar store before that. Then after Lane Cigar Store, it became Fresh Hot Pizza. And that was from 2001 or 2 till like maybe 2010, 11.
Recent.
And then they just locked up. That's who we bought it off of.
Okay,
So they pretty much just locked up. And
cool. Well, I think you guys are getting into the right business here, given what's going to happen over there.
well, you can explain what we do.
We buy homes and restore them and
Okay,
we sell them. So we started doing that probably 5 or 6 years ago, and we've done several. Actually, the first one was after the flood of 2006.
okay.
No,
11.
11.
11, big one.
Yeah, the big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was one in 2006, but after 2011, we bought a flood house and restored it, and after that was sold, we went on to the next. So we've done several. And when this became available, we thought, oh, let's, see what we can do with the building. And so we're still doing houses, but this is definitely our biggest
I
project.
was going to
to
say, this
date.
is a big project.
Yeah, this is going to be a big one.
And we wanted to be part of all this. Yeah, I was born here.
Good,
I grew up on Reynolds Road.
all right. And how long have you said you went into your business, not this one, I mean, as part of it in when? 2011, roughly?
Yep.
Okay. So here's one that's, if it's tough for you to answer, you don't have to, but we've been getting good answers all day. And that is, we're talking about the neighborhood here now, which we mean in Main Street and side streets. What, if any, problems in the neighborhood have you observed that would concern you?
You're down here a lot more than I am.
Don't hold
You
back.
have
I know,
your
but
thoughts.
I have thoughts, but you have,
Yeah, but
it's
you've seen it.
it's not good. I mean,
That's what I want to know. What's
Yeah.
not good? Well, you see, this whole thing, we need to be honest, because
Yeah.
what we're doing is monitoring what was wrong at the beginning and how it will change with this. That's what we're about.
so you know that there was EJ, and when EJ left, then a lot of people left.
Yep.
And IBM left, and
And opening the mall.
the mall didn't help.
Didn't help.
Well, it didn't help downtown Binghamton either, or Washington
That's right.
Ave and
That's right.
Endicott. So, but with all these people leaving the area, what had happened was the mayors all got together with Binghamton, John City. They decided, they really needed to increase the population, because if it goes below a certain number, then you don't get the state aid.
Right.
So they decided that this was going to be a target area to bring people in that were immigrants.
Mhm.
Basically, many of them were from Asia, Vietnam and Korea and
Oh, the Laotians too.
the
Yeah.
Laotians, right? But there's also people from, the kids all went to Johnson City, so they, Russian, Kurbs, Serbs,
Yeah.
so many different ethnic
Mm-hmm.
backgrounds. And so when they came in, they definitely increased the population. But with that came some issues, only because they weren't, Johnson City didn't really prepare, in my opinion, for, all the cultural differences and language differences. And so they definitely had their share of difficulties in the beginning. The people are all great, and they've established businesses. They're very, hardworking folks, all of them. But the kids in school, they didn't know English, and it became a kind of a tough time. My oldest kids were up in the elementary school at the time, and they had to hire teachers to English as a second language.
Yes.
and things like that.
Yep.
I don't know if they really anticipated all the difficulties that they were going to have. Didn't seem like it to me. But, a lot of the homes here on the south side, Tom's friends grew up in, and, they were great neighborhoods. But when people moved out, then they filled them with a lot of people that maybe weren't from the area. And I'm not talking about the immigrants. I'm talking about maybe people that came up from primarily the boroughs, Bronx, and there's a lot of folks on social services.
This is we know, because we studied this area too when we were getting ready for this. This has the highest poverty rate in all of the county, and higher than the states. So there's poverty here. You're absolutely right.
Tons of poverty. I can't. Tom's sister is a teacher up at the high school, and she knows all the statistics. And I'm sure you're talking to people up at the school too to try to get an idea of what that's about. But the poverty rate is probably in the 80s. It's so high.
Yeah, great. Now, one of the things, and I'm not telling you that you have to say this is true or not true, but people we've talked to have observed some problems on the street with drugs. Have you seen any of that?
Absolutely. Just to continue off of what Kathryn said is, when people moved out of here and all these single-family homes came up for sale, dirt cheap, people from the city invested in them, sight unseen, just buy them.
Yep.
And then what happens is, and we've heard this, I can't confirm it, but it's all hearsay, but it's pretty straightforward. You get a one-way bus ticket from New York here. You come in and you get set up. And that's what these were made or developed for, where the developers basically it would just get filled up. So there's no accountability as far as taking care of your property. Out of town landlord, they don't care what it looks like. Code's overwhelmed. They don't take care of. Daily we come here to work, and we start off the day by sweeping the front, picking up garbage when there's plenty to provide, garbage cans, picking up dog feces, washing the corner of our side entrance door to go upstairs because people stop there and go to the bathroom. Out back here, because we have the only nook back here, you find needles, drug, paraphernalia stuff. The more we're here, back here, they don't bother. We put up lights, we put up, fake cameras. Not fake cameras, they will be real. But it's a deterrent.
Sure.
But you ask kindly, would you mind picking up your garbage? And they ignore you or give you a look. You ask them to pick up after their dog. and I'm not picking it up. I mean, it's just amazing the lack of respect for the land. And that's really what upsets us, where one day we came here to look at the upstairs, Kathryn, myself, and our daughter. And it was a great day. It was a Sunday, and we're excited to see our progress. And we come downstairs, walk across the street, we're looking at the building. This guy's walking down the street, and there's planters over on the sidewalk. He comes walking down, takes it, and kicks it over. It dumps the shrubs and the flowers, and he keeps walking.
Wow.
And it just like really took away everything that we just experienced upstairs. Is like, this is exciting. This is, I mean, we know that will change, and we have to have patience. But you want to know what we see.
Yeah, that's
This is
exactly what you want to
This
be honest
is a daily
about.
thing
Yeah.
of disregard for.
And you are not the only ones telling us that.
Right.
That's why it's important to get the honesty out there, because you don't know what has to be fixed if you don't know what's broken.
Right.
You know? So thank you for being honest. You know about the health sciences campus.
Right.
I don't know how much you know about it, but next fall will be the first class that's actually in there.
Yep.
And faculty, staff, and students. So within a couple of years, it will be putting 900 to 1,000 people there and on the streets here. So with that in mind, if there are things you want to say about that opening there that are positive, or things that are challenges or negative, we'd like to hear those. And just be honest.
Well, unless something dramatic happens, and I know the young adults will, you know, they're going to be grad students, so they'll probably be 21, 22 years old, but honestly, if I was a parent, I'm not so sure I'd be comfortable, and the way things are now, I wouldn't be comfortable in allowing my child to go to school there. It just, I mean, I know they're going to have security and all that, but especially down that way, it's bad.
Okay.
And it just doesn't seem safe to me. And it's kind of scary. Like, I don't know if you saw the new hookah bar.
Oh yeah,
It's painted black.
I saw that. Yeah.
It's looks like the demon's den.
Yeah.
You know, we have been involved, you know, since we bought this building, and Tom's on a committee that he'll talk about here in a bit. There's all these renderings of what Johnson City's going to look like, you know, and you know, there's all this money coming and everything. And here it is, like a year and a half later, and all we get is that place looking like that. Like Johnson City has not set up any sort of guidelines or moratoriums on, you know, signage, lighting, what the front of these storefronts are supposed to look like, or what they can or cannot do. It's like if I was a developer coming down Main Street thinking, oh, maybe I'll, you know, buy some buildings, and you know, and I came across that, I'd be like, is that what Johnson City is? Is that their message? Is that what they want to look like? Like BU, we've said for the longest time, BU is doing their part. They didn't, you know, they did their homework, and they discovered that Johnson City has a lot of vacant buildings, a lot of property. It's cheap. I mean, it was an excellent business decision for them, and they purchased land and properties, you know, to build these schools. But we just don't feel that the Village of Johnson City is doing their part. BU can't do everything. They can't make everything be nice again and shiny and perfect.
So you nicely transitioned me into the next question, and I think you've already answered part of it, but I want to be specific. And that is then, what must the village do to make things better? What would you suggest?
Well, as Kathryn said, I've been on this committee for over a year now, and it's with Bergman Associates. And there was grant money left over from when they did the EJ BOA study. And what that was is they studied all the EJ buildings. And that actually gave BU the foundation, the report reports and Regan Development to invest in those 2 buildings. So all the study was done for the brownfield. What is available here? So now you have the school being built, you have Regan developing the buildings. Now they're promoting 59 Lester Ave, the big white building.
Yes.
They have people interested in that, and because they have to have them in by the 26th for RFP, right, request for proposal. So to get to the question, what you asked is, so in this, there was money left over to reestablish this committee to develop, because now they dubbed it the I district. So there's 3 of them, Binghamton, Endicott, Johnson
Gotcha.
City. So with that, I'm on the Johnson City one, and what we were in charge of, or asked the task of the guidelines for Johnson City, and some of the renderings, like this is our side of the street.
Okay.
Things that we've said. So Bergman just took a picture of the buildings, and they put together like what it could look like. And so part of this committee, it was for streetscaping, lighting. What was the street thing that we went to?
Streetscapes.
But there was a term for it. I'm not sure what it was, but anyways, it's for money to develop your streets for lighting and crosswalks and
Yeah.
Bike lanes and
so.
parking.
I can let you look at this too, Brendan, after, but like here's over by the Victory building, the white building.
Yep.
And there's the vacant EJ building. They put a
Yep.
wine shop and people walking, and it's all decorated and refurbished. The Victory building, that was the name of it. So through putting all this together, there's the big shot of it from over the bridge by CFJ Park.
Wow.
So these are the renderings, and it's here's over by the firehouse stage.
Yep.
So they did like an art sculpture, park area to hang out, all the street banners.
What was the first one you did? The past yours on Main Street. The next one.
That's actually in Binghamton. That's coming.
Oh, that's Binghamton. Okay.
But they were
because I
just
didn't
showing-
recognize.
Yeah,
it
they were
yet.
just showing like, because part of this I district goes down to
Yep.
that point
Got
of
it.
what's available to put the money into it when this is all.
Okay.
So.
And the
with-
last one, you didn't get to the last page when John asked you to.
What they did here was, this, you'd have to really zoom in tight, but this is each floor of the Victory building of ideas that we've come up with. And what we did here though, is we had a community night, was it in August?
No, Binghamton Brewery?
Yeah.
Oh, that was probably back in like June or July, yeah.
So we had a community night
A community forum.
formed, and so we went to Binghamton Brewery, and
Invited everybody in the community, to come and get their ideas about, what they'd like to see changed. And Bergman Associates, put together all the information. It was a pretty good screenshot of, what the residents are looking to see happen. Because everybody kind of has the same complaints in this, and you can sit around and talk about everything that's wrong, but, it's way more fun to sit around and talk about what this village is going to look like in a couple of years. So it's exciting, so everybody's over there at the brewery, and it was a great night, and a lot of people showed up and, gave their thoughts on, everything that could potentially happen here,
so I have to revisit your question.
No,
'cause I'm
my
getting
question
off
was,
on it.
you talked about rightfully a number of problems. And I think what you're talking about in design is important. But what about taking care of the social and other kinds of problems that we all know are out there?
Well, and here's the, I was just actually talking to a gentleman today about it. It's something that we follow. I don't know if you've ever heard of like Feng Shui and good Qi, bad Qi, and it's all the energy related. And the thing is, there's things that we can do now as a village, and there's a lot of people that try to do it, but it starts with the main office, and that is keeping the streets clean. And I know it's an everyday task, or you can ask people. There is, I think, enough people that would help, but also it comes from the main office where when you come down Main Street, we have the planter boxes. And they're all overgrown. There's weeds. So when I
saw it today.
Right, so to me, that's bad energy. It's gonna take a while to, just like it took a while to make the village look the way that it is today, it's gonna take a while to have it come back. Although we have to do it a lot faster because of what we have right down the street.
Yes.
So, you know, it's hard to say, oh, let's hire 5 more police officers. But that's what's needed. You know, you need the enforcement of, you know, a lot of police presence, but they're swamped.
Yeah, that's right. And 2 people told us today, the merchant said, they need to go back to the old beat cops. They
Yeah.
walk up and down the street, because if you don't do that, you're going to
They
get,
miss
until you get
everything.
rid of the drugs, you're
Yeah.
going to not get rid of other things unless you do that.
Right, I mean, it's,
And, you know, as far as socially changes, we had gone, and this was probably a good year ago now, that we had gone to a seminar over at, it was at Firehouse
Firehouse
Stage.
Stage.
Oh, yeah.
And a gal came in from, she's an architect, and her business had done a lot of work on Market Street in Corning. And, you know, she saw Johnson City as kind of the same sort of thing, you know, it was going to happen here, that happened in Corning on Market Street. So, and she did a lot of work there. So she had come in and, you know, met with a lot of building owners and business owners. And she pretty much explained at one point that what'll happen is as developers come in and buy properties, whether they're, you know, homes, and they'll knock them down. They'll just level, you know, 3, 4 residences, possibly the whole street, you know, build something brand new, whether it's going to be housing for students or, you know, retail space or entertainment space or, you know, any number of things. And so she said that's how the life will go.
Mhm.
And so if the properties aren't there, then there's going to be no need to have the people that live in them. They'll go somewhere else. And same with Johnson's, you know, Main Street. As people fix up their buildings, you know, make improvements on the streets, and then things will change because there's a lot of apartments, you know, second and third
Absolutely.
floors. And, you know, people are going to get evicted from the apartments as somebody comes in, buys the building, wants to make it nice and make the apartments real nice. And those folks will get evicted, they'll go somewhere else. So she kind of explained that it'll take time, but it's kind of the natural order of things. You know, it's not going to happen overnight, but in time that will take place. So we're very hopeful, you know, that what she said was right. It kind of makes sense. But again, you know, we have the school, the kids are coming, the faculty's coming, you know, you have to make some changes to at least make them feel safe. So, you know.
And I think there will be,
police-
this is just me speaking without any inside information or anything, but the university is taking other property, buying other property on Corliss and coming up some of the side streets.
Yeah.
And I think like that pharmacy, I don't know if you know about the pharmacy.
Yes, yes.
It was,
Yeah.
they've taken that now.
Yeah, we knew that.
And so those things are going to, I think, help as people see more and more investment.
Right.
and that's what's, like, because of what's happening, I think people do, we've just talked about this several times, basically our weekly conversation.
Daily.
You know, when people drive down Main Street and they see news on the school, and they, you know, every day there's, maybe not every day, but there's a little something going on. And it's usually to the positive. But when they drive down Main Street and they don't see anything, they're like, what are these businesses doing? What are these owners doing? And here's the thing. We tried to dress up the front of our building for the way that it looks. I mean, when we bought
I
this,
noticed.
compared to the way that it I mean, ceiling was collapsed, pizza boxes all over, holes in the roof. I mean, that's what this place looked like. But what, we can clean it up, but when there's, the village just applied for the Main Street grant. Another thing that they touted in the I district when they did the URI fund with the 500 million, they just announced the 20 million. Well, part of that 20 million, there's money for places to be refurbished. So the thing is, through past grants that we've researched, such as the Main Street grant, we can't start any build out on this floor, or else any floor, or else it doesn't qualify. So if we start building a wall, and then the Main Street grant comes out, it only qualifies for the second, third floor. So that's why you don't see anything going on.
We have to wait.
We have to wait. So we just we can get to a certain point, and we have to stop.
That makes sense.
So that's why, it doesn't look like anything's.
So a lot of people will be like, geez, how come nobody's doing anything in Johnson City? These people aren't fixing up their places, and they're like blaming the individual building owners or business owners, but that's why. But
So
most
what is
people
the
don't.
problem? I mean, why, is it just slow moving because of the bureaucracy, or what is it?
It's always bureaucracy when it comes to money like that, and history will show that. It just takes years for it to get to where it needs to go. I don't know why,
We bought this in October of 2015. They announced the URI fund in December that we won it. And we already knew the school was starting, or it was going to be built. And so that was announced in December about everything that's with it, and people talking, this is what's going to be available. This, we didn't know any parameters, and we did invest in this, knowing that look, there's a chance that we might have to do that around. So we went into knowing that, but we knew what was going to happen.
Sure.
So, but when they offer it and they show it and they say what's going to happen, now since that we're almost 2 years into it now.
We did just spend $12,000 on the roof. We had to because it was, water would just pour down all the way down to this floor from the roof. So, we had to make a decision, and we're like, it's going to be money well spent. We would have loved to have, been able to get a grant or, the URI money or whatever, but sometimes, you just got to be smart. So it was ruining the integrity and the structure of the building. So we went ahead and, we, like Tom said, we planned for that, that we were going to have to spend some of our own money, and we're perfectly fine with that, because this is going to be an investment for us too.
So tell me what you have planned. Is going to be all, what?
Well, the second and third floor is going to be residences. The second floor is going to be 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath, and then the top floor, this is right now, this is all subject to change.
Yeah.
Because
I understand.
I changed my mind about things, but I just thought it would be pretty cool to have the top floor be just a big, 1-bedroom, like master bedroom type of a thing with a rooftop space. And
That's pretty cool. What about here?
yeah, so this we're going to just restore. But we don't really have any plans as far as a business for us because, we're really good at what we do. We have all kinds of plans like what we'd love to see in here, but we're not restaurateurs. We've never ran a restaurant or a bar. It'd be a great maybe coffee, wine bar, or something like that. A place for people to enjoy. But there's all other possibilities. But we just can't see ourselves right now. I still work full time, and
You're smart, because things like restaurants are 24/7.
yeah,
And
I know.
You don't want that.
We're good
No.
at creating spaces, and Kathryn with design background.
but we don't have the expertise of, and a lot of people have said, oh geez, I hope they don't bring more bars down there. I mean, the only bar really down here is Giblin's. I mean,
Right.
there was one down the street now. It's Grapevine, but it's a cute little.
Yeah.
They have tea and
Yeah.
sandwiches and everything. people don't want to see, more bars down here, but that they are social gathering places and.
And you can have like Gifton's is a nice bar. I mean,
Right.
it's designed in a way that it keeps the riffraff out. So I mean, there are many things you can do if you're creative.
Yeah, when you put cop patches all over the walls.
Yeah.
It kind
It's
of
gonna help.
picture it. He's my first cousin, Billy.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
We
And
love
Rita's.
talking to him. Yeah, he was great.
Yeah, we're all
upstairs?
first cousins.
No, we didn't go upstairs.
You have to ask.
I will.
It's because our buildings are very
Similar.
similar,
Yeah.
the layout and everything. So you kind of get an idea of
Oh, that's a good
what
idea.
ours will.
And the tenants are great about, they're just two single guys on each
No
floor.
kidding.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
the thing is, too, just to touch quick base on this is a great structure right here, great
Great location. too.
great location with the tin ceilings, with the brick walls and the wood floor. I mean, it's an ideal spot to create something like Kathryn just said. I mean, it has.
How many square feet is this? You know?
This is about 11 to 1,200.
Oh, that's
It's
pretty
20 by 60,
Oh, okay.
62, but
That's
you know, you gotta
yeah.
bump it up the wall. So as far as like workable space, so you have that on each floor.
So we'll just make it really, really nice. And we said, more than likely, at least in the beginning.
Sure. Makes sense.
And let's see what the future holds.
Okay, you've been very, very patient with me, so let me ask you one question we ask people to try to get an idea of if they're, I already asked you, you're a long-time resident, sometimes that affects, sort of an affinity for the place. If I ask you to rank your, between 1 and 10, 1 the least, 10 the most, your attachment to Johnson City as a nice place in the future, what would you say?
10
One-
being the most?
Yes.
I would definitely go with a 10.
Okay.
I mean, we've done 5, 6 houses just in Johnson City out of
Wow.
12.
There's so many to be done.
But
There's so many EJ homes that need to be completely renovated, And there's young couples and people are, staying here after they graduate high school or college, they come back and, they want nice places to live in. And as the older generation, I mean, it's, again, the natural order of things, they pass on and the younger,
And we do this to keep the community going.
Yeah, and that's on
to make it look nice.
Yeah.
And the one thing too, besides just Binghamton University, which is enormous, of what the investment and what they've done and are doing for Johnson City, is that we have a pretty major hospital here, which I know that's why they built here.
Sure.
But you have upstate medical that's invested in there, you have all the interns, you have resident doctors. I mean, we have a lot of great things happening.
I agree.
And that only builds out from there. So people are like, oh, aren't you worried about student housing being built or those 2 Regan projects? We're like, why would we? We need 2 people.
Here's the other thing. This is where I think the hookah bar misjudged the clientele here. These are people who are going in for higher education.
They're intelligent.
And they're
not-
also older. Many of them are, have a PhD program
Right.
coming in there, and the pharmacy degrees. These are not kids that are coming to school to spend mom and dad's money and
Yeah.
goof off.
Right.
It's a whole different clientele. I can't see them using a hookah bar.
Well,
Right.
it's not. They said it's for the college. It's not. It's a big
I was,
fallacy. They look at, this is one of the things that bothers us the most about that hookah bar, besides the way it looks. This is supposed to be the health and cultural district. What is healthy about smoking a hookah?
That's what I'm saying.
It
You're
makes
talking
no
about
sense.
nutritionists and you're talking about people doing pharmaceuticals and all of that,
They're not
nursing,
going to be smoking a
Right.
and not standing outside smoking.
and see that's the problem, because this right here hasn't been enforced yet. And that's all they have to do is the moratorium. To say, hold on,
Yeah.
in the side district, if you are opening up something, so they should set what can and cannot open up. And then they can do that for a set area. And if you are opening up something and they approve it, then you have to do a temporary sign. Knowing, because what's going to happen now, once this gets established, you're going to have to pay There's got to be grant money or some type of money and be like, okay, John and Mary, you have to change your sign. We're like, I'm not changing, I just paid for that. So you want me to change it and get all universal, like, you know, the Grapevine Cafe, they did a nice sign. You know, but they did that on their own. There was no guidelines, and that's what we've been working on for over a year.
So what's the next step in this? I mean, what has to be done before it gets approved?
Well, I don't know the legal format. I feel like it sounds simple, but I think the village board, and it comes from the mayor, that, because he's on this committee.
It's probably going to wait till after the election before anything gets done on this thing.
Right, but this is like proactive. This is like, whether you're the mayor or not, like this should be, because people aren't waiting, like, well, wait till the school will open up and then we'll open up a deli. They're doing it now.
Yeah, I would say you can see what's going on, and you know, this is why we're starting it. In fact, we've been studying the area for a year before we started going to merchants. But yeah, I mean, you've got to be on top of it.
I was on the planning board a year ago, and at the same time this started. So the information that would come across to me for the planning board, I'm like, wow, people aren't waiting.
No.
And I think that's great because they're putting their money out now with the plan, so they got to sit on it for over a year.
And it's the same with the university. The university, unfortunately, there are a couple of alums that are giving them stuff on Portland Street, just giving them the property.
Right.
And there are others that they're paying back taxes on, and others are just investing and buying and saying, we got to clean this up if we're going to get businesses to come in here.
Right.
Portland has to be decent.
Right.
You know, and there's some really some ratty properties, as you probably know. And they're going to try to take care of all that. So, you know, things are happening. You're right about that, and it's happening with the university, it's happening with business. You know, investors are always the sort of first to jump out front and say, hey, this is going to work.
Yeah.
But then the government's got to do their shit.
Right,
and that's really what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
that's right.
Right, and exactly. So when I would bring this information to this meeting, I mean, the consultants are the consultants. They're like, okay, this is what you should do, or this is what you could do. They make recommendations. Then it's up to the board to enforce it. And so that's what I kept saying, like, we need some help here, because when you get a group of people together, especially in politics, like, everybody has their ideas and everybody respects them. But the one thing that this can do is narrow it down. To be like, you have 10 ideas, you have 10, we have 10. But it's like, you can't put 30 ideas of what to do for.
You got to compromise and select the priorities.
So Bergman, this is what they do.
Yeah.
And so they're the professionals. And they're like, so we had asked them in the meeting is, there's got to be, out of all the places you've done, there's got to be 5 to 10 things that work. Narrow it down and be like, here, Johnson City. It's all narrowed down, all the work is done, and here's your guidelines.
But to implement them, that does need to come from the mayor. That needs to come from the mayor and the board. And that's not being done. And I guess that's, you know, what's a little bit frustrating. And it may have something to do with the election, because things are going to change with some of the board members and whatnot. But I did want to also, I don't know if you know this or if you've heard this, but there are folks out there that are not very happy that BU is buying all these properties, because that's going to be less taxes, okay? Because they come off all those properties come off the tax roll, and they're believing that once that happens, that their taxes are going to get raised on their properties and their residences to kind of make it up. So, you know, when we talk about the excitement of BU coming to Johnson City, there's definitely a large number of people who aren't as happy. And they don't understand, I suppose, that, you know, growth is always good. You know, no matter what it looks like, as long as it's positive growth.
I'm smiling only because we asked Billy that question this morning. And he said, that's baloney, basically. He said, your property values are going to go up, you generate more taxes, you're going to get more sales, so sales tax will go up.
Right.
And he was saying, I'm not buying.
But it's people who don't know business.
You're right.
They
You're
don't
absolutely
understand
right.
business. You know, Billy does. He's a businessman. You know, Tom and I both had our own businesses. We understand, you know, how it's all gonna just, be a domino effect. But, they're not educated on it, and it's just, you may hear that along the way, and that's why I brought it up.
Already have, you're right
Yeah,
about it.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we try to educate people when they're like, nothing's gonna change, and you're gonna have those
Of course,
people.
always, yeah.
I'll see it, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Believe it
and
when I see
then
it.
the thing that gets that to us, like, people ask us, what are you working on? Oh, we're restoring a building on Main Street, part of the whole, we call it the BU movement. It's for me, what's the BU movement? It's like, well, go down.
Go down.
You know what I mean? Like, and I actually had one of the BU, he's in the entrepreneurial, I'm trying to remember his name, he's a teller feller, I think he's from Sweden or.
Oh, yeah, I know, Per.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember saying that to him, he goes, I work here, what's the BU movement? I go, well.
He
that's
knows
something
now
that-
because he gave him one of our presentations.
That's something we dubbed it, that we live here. And so,
Just one more
Yeah.
question,
Fine.
we'll go. And that is, can we come back and talk to you in 3 to 6 months?
absolutely.
of course.
We're always phone call away.
Great. You guys have been very helpful, thank you.